future of retirement is here, and the Sanlam Umbrella Fund is gearing up to transform the lives of its members in an ever-evolving retirement landscape to enable their financial peace of mind, leveraging innovation and deep member engagement to do more than just promise a good retirement. The fund seeks to empower members to live a life of financial confidence. Sit back, relax, and stay with us over the next hour to hear how the Sanlam Umbrella Fund is crafting brighter tomorrows by empowering members to generate a life of confidence today, tomorrow, and beyond retirement. You will also hear the latest insights, developments, and value-added benefits offered by the fund, and also find out how these empower members to be financially confident about the future. Welcome to the Sanlam Umbrella Fund Symposium for 2023. Introducing your studio host, Shamiha Manuels, the Head Fund Secretariat.
Thank you for joining us, live from the 2023 Sanlam Umbrella Fund Symposium. My name is Shamiha Manuels, and I'm delighted to be hosting this edition as we delve into the latest news and updates within the Sanlam Umbrella Fund and unpacking how we are shaping up to empower our members to generate a life with confidence today, tomorrow, and beyond retirement. There have been a number of exciting changes at the fund, particularly with the elections of the new cohort of trustees. This change heralds an improvement in our transformation strategy, as well as the injection of fresh ideas and insights delivered by experts in the field to ensure we stay at the forefront of improving retirement outcomes for our members. Do stay tuned because we will be crossing over to them later to get to know them a little bit better. I'm also pleased to say that Jolene Moodley has been appointed as the new principal officer. As a stalwart on our board of trustees, she will be a steady hand with experience and ambition to propel the fund forward. So I'm truly thrilled to say that Jolene is in studio with us right now. Let's head over to her live.
It gives me great pleasure this morning to deliver the Principal Officer Address. Having started in the role in April, you can say that I've effectively completed my first 100 days in office. It has been a very busy time for the fund, not only with the appointment of new fund officials, but we have also held the independent trustee elections, which has culminated in the new board taking office on 1 September, which was only a few weeks ago. A big thank you to the former board and principal officer who have done a sterling job in steering the fund with such passion and commitment. This has contributed largely to the success and achievements that the fund has experienced over the past years. In line with good governance, new board members underwent a successful induction training in August that focused on operations and practices policies of the fund in line with its rules. The board also used the opportunity to review its committee structure and membership. I'm happy to mention that we have placed our independent trustees on committees that will benefit from their vast skill and expertise. We have also made changes to committee chairpersons, namely on the administration and insured risk benefit committees. This regular review of our processes allows for effective leadership and enhanced governance of all committee and board activities. The trustee appraisal for the outgoing board and its committees was also carried out in July. I am delighted by the overall results obtained, which you can read more about in our trustee report. The outgoing board also provided some positive feedback, which will be unpacked in our October Governance and Risk Committee meeting, with the view of identifying initiatives that will enhance further board performance. In terms of our financial statements, I am happy to report to you that the 2022 unqualified audited financial statements for the Sanlam Pension and Provident Funds and the Sanlam Unity Umbrella Fund has been successfully submitted to the FSCA. Our fund auditors have confirmed that the annual financial statements in respect of all three funds were prepared in line with reporting requirements. This highlights the fund's commitment to prudent financial management and financial good governance. Even more exciting is the impressive investment returns earned for members relative to inflation, especially if we have to consider the year one performance to 30th June 2023. This should be pleasing to you and give you comfort as to the strength of the investment held by the fund. My colleague Solly Insi will be unpacking the investment performance of the fund in his presentation later and will be able to provide you with more detail. In terms of transformation, I am happy to report that as part of its committee review, the board has added to its committee structure and established a transformation committee. Work has already commenced, with the committee being instrumental in the compilation of the 2021 Balance Scorecard for the Sanlam Pension and Provident Funds. In terms of the 2021 scorecard, the fund registered a good score, consistent with previous year, in terms of the diversity to its board members. Furthermore, it registered an improved score in respect of procurement, primarily since the sponsor, Sanlam, is a Level 1 BEE contributor. The board believes that its continued engagement with stakeholders around the issue of transformation should improve its ratings in the coming year. We, the board, have also been reflecting on how we can assist our joint forums to deliver on their sustainable investment obligations to members. We believe that if our members can make informed decisions, it does not only improve their life at retirement, but it also improves society and the world around them. We have seen that the rapid pace at which the world of investment is changing, its interdependency, its interconnectivity means that the impact of sustainable investing can no longer be ignored by the pension industry. The question that remains, however, is how does the fund incorporate environmental, social, and governance considerations as part of its investment principles in a meaningful way? We want our investments to make a difference in the world by generating measurable social and environmental benefits while also improving investment returns. This is not always easy to do. Like me, I'm sure that you've seen the recent industry debates around transparency of ESG reporting and rating. This matter has been considered by the board and through its investment committee recognizes the need for transformation and ESG ratings disclosure by its investment managers. As such, I'm happy to share with you, as part of our symposium today, the triple BEE ratings and the initial ESG ratings that have been compiled in respect of the investment menu held by the fund, excluding our smooth bonus portfolios. You will note that most of the portfolios on the Sanlam investment menu are rated AA and AAA using the MSCI ESG ratings criteria. The board considered the MSCI ESG ratings criteria as it felt that it was the leader in this field. According to the managing director at MSCI, these ratings are designed to allow for greater transparency and understanding of ESG characteristics of fund investor portfolios. For the board, the result, as depicted, although pleasing, is seen more of a way of dipping our toes into the water and a start of the process. We are fully aware that the ratings methodology used will have to be refined and improved over time. To look beyond just quantitative aspects, we still need to add qualitative aspects to our assessment criteria so that the ESG performance can be measured more transparently. For me, what is key is the board as a leader in the industry believes that at some point we need to go ahead and take the plunge rather than just discussing this internally. So you can say we are bringing the discussion to you, our joint forum members, our members, and broader stakeholders. I do believe over time that these ratings and measurement criteria will be greatly refined and enhanced. For now, however, we believe that it's important we start the discussion. So look out for more information and communication from the board around the triple BEE and ESG ratings compiled. We will also welcome engagement with industry and broader stakeholders to see how we can collectively work together to enhance true and transparent ESG rating reporting that will speak to the priorities and goals of the industry and its members. As a final note, I want to touch on improving member experience. We understand that members are faced with various economic challenges and believe that a support system is essential to protect members' retirement benefits. Research conducted by our administrator reveals that there needs to be a greater focus on improved member experience. In the coming year, therefore, the board will monitor the streamlining of its administration processes, which not only complies with legislation, but will also ensure quicker benefit payment turnaround times. The successful implementation of the two-part system in March 2024 will significantly test our commitment to improving member experience. But I am confident that the board, by holding its administrator to high service level standards, will enable me to return next year and report to you that all is well within the fund, especially with regards member experience and the delivery of our pension promise to you. And on that note, I thank you.
Thank you, Jolene. Congratulations on your new role, and we look forward to everything you'll achieve in the year ahead. Up next, Nzwa, what can you tell us about the exciting changes that have taken place and can be expected for this coming year?
To our family of intermediaries, participating employers and members, who are our partners in financial confidence, we would like to thank you for your incredible support of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund and your belief and trust in us. We are humbled and grateful for the ongoing support, which has ensured that we remain the fastest growing umbrella fund in the industry, where we recently breached 90 billion rand mark and are fast approaching 100 billion. You have our deepest gratitude, respect, and appreciation. We're even more dedicated and committed to being your partner in all aspects where value, service, and quality go hand in hand. Now, one of the shifts that has taken place in our industry over the last decade is a shift in the focus to the member, with employers continuously questioning whether commercial umbrella funds' value-added benefits address the day-to-day challenges that their employees face. Ultimately, this industry would not exist without our members. And the more we focus on improving their lives, now and into retirement, the sooner we can start to improve financial outcomes and confidence for all South Africans. Gone are the days when participating in a retirement fund solely revolved around the accumulation of funds and building up a substantial nest egg. While saving sufficiently for financial stability in retirement remains a crucial aspect, a more holistic approach encompassing additional benefits has become important to retirement fund members. Members and their employers seek value-added benefits that enhance their quality of life and provide peace of mind beyond retirement readiness. This is one of the reasons there's been a major shift in the retirement fund industry, from private standalone funds to multi-employer commercial umbrella funds. The Sanlam Umbrella Fund first introduced value-added benefits completely unrelated to retirement savings in September 2021. This was with the launch of a free will drafting service, access to a free credit report, and free online doctor and nurse consultations. Value-added benefits are able to provide additional holistic value for our retirement fund members where they need it. However, in order to effectively meet the needs of our members, Sanlam relies on feedback from our stakeholders, our employers, and intermediaries on what is important to our members. Where are the gaps outside of retirement that can ease a burden or help our members live more confidently? Now, the need for easy access to medical professionals was evident following the COVID-19 pandemic. However tragic and destructive it has been, COVID-19 placed society at a unique point in time to prioritize health. The COVID-19 shock illustrated that widespread health is essential for global prosperity. Following the launch of the free online doctor and nurse consultations, the Sanlam Umbrella Fund further responded by making discounted gap cover available to members, as well as preferential rates for employers to offer their members an employee assistance program in 2022. Our member focus has been key to the success of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, and we continue to innovate our value proposition to enhance the member experience and assist in improving levels of financial and general wellness. The Sanlam Umbrella Fund is committed to helping members improve their retirement outcomes. This is a mission we share with our intermediaries and employers. Now, a key strategy that we embarked on to improve outcomes was through education and empowering our members to use the tools available to them. To this end, Sanlam Umbrella Fund launched the online member education sessions called Imali Zami in 2021. These were aimed at enabling members to better understand their savings and benefits. The informative sessions have been a great success, covering topics such as how to read my benefit statement, how to update my nomination of beneficiary form, understanding the upcoming two-pot retirement system changes, and how to access and use the retirement savings calculator, and many more. A key aspect of the sessions is that members have an opportunity to ask live questions with regards to the topic that's being discussed. And as much as possible, the questions are addressed during the session. And now, building on from the Imali Zami webinars, as part of Sanlam Corporate's ambition and vision to enable our members to live confidently, we've kickstarted an initiative to help members look at their current financial state compared to the possible future or desired state using a financial check quiz. The quiz is provided through a questionnaire where, on completion, a basic financial wellness report is sent to the member. The quiz results demonstrate to the member an overall score on aspects such as their budget, debt management, savings habits, investments, and health. Those members seeking additional information can click a callback button that alerts retirement benefit counselors to give the member a call. In addition, should the member need financial advice, the retirement benefit counselor will refer the member to their contracted financial advisor. Now, moving on from that, an important theme that has been raised by our partners, yourselves, is the question on the role with regards to the ESG discussion. Now, earlier on, Jolene mentioned that we'll be introducing ESG ratings disclosures in respect of the investment portfolios currently on our open menu. In addition to this, I am glad to announce that the Sanlam Umbrella Fund will also be making the Sanlam Living Planet Fund available to members as a member investment choice portfolio effective 1 October 2023. This fund is managed by Sanlam Investments in collaboration and supported by the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF. The fund aims to provide long-term investors with acceptable financial returns within a framework that enhances environmental sustainability by redirecting investment flows towards sustainable opportunities and away from unsustainable practices. The mission is to reduce the degradation of the planet's natural environment and to build a sustainable future in which humans live in harmony with nature. The fund is managed by utilizing the combined capacity of regulated authorized investment managers and the WWF, a leading international environmental organization. Given the environmental sustainability objective, certain exclusions, constraints, or preferences will apply, especially in areas impacting climate change, water resources, and biodiversity. Now, we live in a world where loyalty programs have been rolled out to members across multiple dimensions of their everyday lives. Whether the benefits are fully utilized or beneficial to members remains a topical discussion. We realize that we've got an opportunity to craft a meaningful rewards program for our members in conjunction with yourselves, our partners. To this end, we will be launching the Wealth Bonus Lifestyle Benefits to all Sanlam corporate members in October 2023. Sanlam Umbrella Fund members will get to enjoy exclusive benefits and savings such as discounts on flights, bus tickets, Uber rides, and groceries. They'll also have access to Showmax and new Metro movie ticket discounts, access to free 24-hour trauma assistance, free will drafting, and many more. We understand that a comprehensive loyalty program is a great way to provide value to our members and help them save money on their journey to financial confidence. Now, as we continue to innovate and add value-added benefits that we believe will be to the benefit of our members, we must always take a step back and really ask the important question: what are our members currently struggling with? Among its many impacts, the COVID-19 pandemic has created a global crisis for mental health, fueling short and long-term stresses and undermining the mental health of millions. For example, estimates put the rise in both anxiety and depressive disorders at more than 25% during the first year of the pandemic, adding to the nearly 1 billion people who are already living with a mental disorder. Our country faces a mental health pandemic as serious as the one that changed our lives forever in 2020. At the same time, mental health services have been severely disrupted, and the treatment gap for mental health conditions has widened. South Africa ranks low on mental health, and this is because our country is beset by living conditions that fuel poor mental health, including social and structural drivers, such as high levels of violence, poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Combined, these factors result in mental health disorders such as psychological distress, inability to concentrate, depression, anxiety, suicide, hopelessness, and feelings of worthlessness. Our members and employers are not immune to these factors. We must understand that mental health is a lot more than the absence of illness. It is an intrinsic part of our individual and collective health and well-being. Our retirement fund members are evolving as newer generations join the working population. Gen Z comprises those born between 1997 and 2010 and is likely to account for 27% of the working population by 2025. These younger generations are much more in tune with their mental health, with almost 20% of Gen Z and 13% of millennials consulting a medical health professional at least 3 times each year. Mental health claims are on the rise globally, and more members are seeking assistance in this regard. This rising demand and the well-being of our members has prompted the Sanlam Umbrella Fund to add free psychologist sessions to the existing virtual doctor offering effective 1 October 2023. Mental health is an integral part of our general health and well-being, and a basic human right. We understand that ultimately, there is no health without mental health. So in closing, we believe the Sanlam Umbrella Fund is well positioned to make value-added benefits available to members based on member and employer needs. The economies of scale achieved through our recent growth positions us well to make benefits available at a fraction of the cost that a single employer would incur. We strongly believe that the more successful umbrella or retirement funds over the next decade will be those that are able to seamlessly integrate meaningful benefits into the existing value proposition. The winners will be those that are able to analyze and act on the data they receive from their partners and never be so arrogant as to think that they know best, but rather continuously look for more data and information to improve their value proposition. In this way, the Sanlam Umbrella Fund will be built to integrate and accommodate what is necessary to empower our members to be confident in all aspects of their lives. So to our intermediaries, members, and employers, we are where we are because of you and with you. Thank you for your support and loyalty. All of us here wish you peace, joy, and prosperity for the remainder of the year. Relax and be happy.
Well, we did promise you breaking news. Thanks, Nzwa. We look forward to hearing even more about the exciting launch of the Wealth Bonus lifestyle benefits for corporate in the near future. It's one of the hottest topics and probably the most anticipated legislation. With the eminence of the two-part system, we have Anya in studio with us to talk to the practicalities and unintended consequences of the two-part system implementation for members. Thank you, Anya.
The two-pot retirement system Currently, a very topical subject in the industry, National Treasury has proposed this new two-pot retirement system, which introduces partial compulsory preservation while allowing some flexibility for members to access a portion of their savings in emergencies. The legislation has not been finalised as yet, and we know that industry feedback is still being discussed and considered. What I'd like to share today will be based on the draft bill published as at the 9th of June, although we do expect some tweaks and refinements in the subsequent drafts, not to mention the final legislation. From 1 March 2024, a member's retirement savings, their fund credit or member share, and their future contributions will be reclassified into 3 components or pots. Let's look at an example. It's always a little bit easier to understand. Tabiso is a member of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund. His existing retirement savings of 600,000 Rand, as at the 1st of March 2024, will form part of his vested pot. The whole 600,000 Rand, except for 10% to a maximum of 25,000 Rand, which will be placed in his emergency savings pot as a seeded amount. This will ensure that a reasonable amount is available for his first annual withdrawal from the emergency savings pot, should it be required. The retirement pot will start off completely empty on the 1st of March. However, Tabiso's monthly contributions thereafter will be split between the emergency savings pot, which will receive 1/3 of his contributions, and the retirement pot, receiving 2/3 of his monthly contributions. Over time, we do expect that the new two-pot retirement system will improve outcomes for members, specifically because the retirement pot will have to be preserved for retirement. So that's a quick overview of the two-pot system, but today I actually want to focus on some of the more practical aspects and implications of the new legislation. Sanlam will change all member share records on our administration system to this new naming convention from 29 February 2024. And the seeding transfer will be an automatic bulk process that happens on the same day. The following members will be excluded from this process: unclaimed members, pensioners, deferred pensioners, members with a pending claim status on the 29th of Feb, and non-contributing members of terminating funds and funds in liquidation. Going forward, members will be able to access an annual cash withdrawal from their emergency savings pot, as long as they have that 2,000 Rand minimum amount available for withdrawal. Although the intention is for this pot to only be accessed in genuinely difficult times, there will be no validation process or guidance from National Treasury on what constitutes an emergency. We strongly encourage members to continue saving for emergencies through more efficient vehicles for withdrawal, for example, a tax-free savings account. But it is comforting to know that when we experience severe financial crises, there will be access to this valuable emergency funds. I must stress at this point, however, that every withdrawal from the emergency savings pot will be taxed at marginal tax rates, which is something our members should avoid if possible. Now, an unintended consequence of the two-pot system that will have a big impact on our members is the increase in potential fraud. We believe that fraudsters will try to target members of retirement funds, as we have previously seen in unclaimed benefit funds. We expect to see an increase in fraud and scam attempts trying to access that two-pot savings. Scammers are like viruses. They continually evolve in response to the latest news and trends and use these to their advantage. To illustrate this point, I did a quick Google search on the top scams to look out for in 2023, and I've 3 to highlight. The QR scam. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and they have a QR code on the table? You scan the QR code and get access to the menu. It's certainly greener, not having printed menus available. But fraudsters have noticed that QR codes are an easy gateway to get people to access malicious sites. They stick a fake QR code on top of the legitimate one on the restaurant table or on a gift card in shops or on a poster, anywhere where there is a QR code really, And then we scan that QR code and are automatically taken to a malicious site that downloads malware and harvests our passwords and account information. The out-of-stock scam. Scammers set up fake retail stores and advertise on social media sites. You see a product that you want to buy and you make payment. They then advise you, unfortunately, your product is out of stock, but you'll be refunded promptly, which of course never happens. Lastly, the bank impersonator scam. Somehow criminals have accessed your bank detail information and are trying to log onto your online banking. But your bank has set up a one-time PIN system that sends a unique PIN to your cell phone in order for you to continue. The fraudsters phone you, pretending to be a bank representative. They mention that there's some issue on your account, and then they say that they'll send you a one-time PIN to verify it's you, and that you need to read this PIN back to them. If you do, they log onto your account. It's quite scary and very clear that these criminals are certainly quick to adapt. So today I want to take you through some of the steps that the Sanlam Umbrella Fund is planning to put in place to protect our members' hard-earned money from fraudsters and scammers. We don't know what the plans of other retirement funds and administrators are, but obviously trustees and members of all retirement funds should be asking these difficult questions about such plans. If a member is allowed to submit a payment request directly to the administrator, we have no doubt that less informed members will be exploited and that the risk of fraudulent claims will increase exponentially. A scammer simply needs access to a member's ID document and a vague resemblance to the ID photo to open a bank account in the member's name. The bank verification check that is done before making a member's benefit payment claim won't raise any flags, since the member's name and ID number correlate to those of the bank account. Many of our members aren't financially savvy and may accept help from a Good Samaritan who offers to assist in completing and submitting documentation for the annual withdrawal. We will no longer have the additional security check currently in place, where the employer verifies that yes, this member has in fact resigned and can therefore claim their benefit. We debated for some time on whether the withdrawal request should only be accepted from the employer and not from members directly. We certainly don't want our employers inundated with additional work to facilitate each of these payments, though. Larger employers may have hundreds of members requesting to withdraw at any time. But Sanlam Umbrella Fund also has a responsibility to ensure that mitigating factors are put in place to protect our members. So what's the solution? We want members to initiate the withdrawal claim themselves. We will, however, only accept this request via the member portal or app. There will be no hard copy claim forms accepted for emergency savings withdrawals. This will ensure a first layer of protection against fraudsters, as the member will need to log on with their specific and unique login details. We must ensure that our members understand the importance of keeping these details safe and confidential. Digital-only requests will also assist in keeping administrative costs lower, which is beneficial to all our members. We will automate the processing of withdrawals as far as possible to efficiently deal with the additional workload. However, some challenge still remains, as we will be required to apply for a tax directive for each withdrawal. We believe this is taking the retirement funds industry forward to a better and safer environment for members, very much along the lines of what the banking industry has done with the elimination of checks. Security of our members' hard-earned money must be the top priority. It is therefore important that as many members as possible register on the Sanlam member portal or app in advance of that targeted 1 March 2024 implementation date for the two-pot system. This will in turn lead to an enhanced client experience once members actually wish to withdraw from the emergency savings pot. The contracted benefit consultants have a pivotal role to play in ensuring that this happens for their own clients. Members requesting a withdrawal via the portal or app will be sent an SMS with a one-time PIN to their employer-provided cell phone number. They will need this PIN in order to complete the withdrawal process. That's a second layer of protection. We understand, however, that some of our members do not have internet access or the financial acumen to navigate the portal to request their withdrawal. Employers will have the capability to submit the withdrawal request on behalf of a member. In these cases, the member will still receive an SMS advising them that the request has been received, and if this was not initiated by them, to contact their administrator. We do, however, of course, strongly encourage all members to register on the portal and utilize this platform in checking their information or initiating any requests. We will, of course, continue to verify bank account details of the member before we make any payments to ensure that the bank account is in the name of the member and that the ID numbers tie up. This is already part of the current claims process and is our third layer of protection. 3 security layers, and I'm still not totally comfortable that members will not be exploited. Let's take Bob and Joe as an example. Bob and Joe are friends. Bob is a little bit older and less tech savvy. Joe looks like a nice guy, but he's actually a fraudster. Bob has experienced some financial difficulty and he'd like to make a withdrawal from his emergency savings pot. Joe very kindly offers to help Bob with the withdrawal because, he understands these things a bit better. Because Bob and Joe are friends, Joe knows where Bob keeps his ID document. He takes the ID document, goes to a bank and opens a bank account that Bob knows nothing about. Bob gives Joe his login details for the member portal so that he can initiate the claim. He also provides his friend with the one-time PIN he receives because Joe's helping him out. Sanlam verifies that, yes, Bob has requested a claim and provided a bank account detail in his name and the one-time PIN. Payment is made to the fake bank account, and Joe withdraws all the money. Bob is left heartbroken and with no money. How do we prevent this scenario from happening? A mitigating factor that we did consider here was to verify how long a bank account had been in existence before making payments, and to not pay into any new accounts without additional verifications. But who would verify that this is a legitimate account, and what would we consider as new? The Sanlam Umbrella Fund felt that 3 layers of protection were just not enough to rely on. A solution to the above Bob and Joe scenario is to only pay emergency withdrawal benefits into the same bank account that members receive their salaries from their employer. The Sanlam Umbrella Fund will therefore be asking employers to confirm members' salary bank account details up front. This should be relatively easy to include on the schedule from the payroll system and should not be too onerous on our employers. Once a bank account has been loaded for a member and the member requests a withdrawal from the emergency savings pot, the request will be processed and paid into the salary bank account. This is the 4th layer of protection for our members. Should the salary bank account, however, not be provided upfront, the employer will need to extract this information at the time that the member requests a withdrawal and provide it to Sanlam in order to process the claim. We therefore request our employers to please provide the salary bank account details when requested, and also to ensure that members' contact details are up to date. These are just some of the security measures being introduced. The Sanlam Umbrella Fund is working closely with the administrator to add even more layers of protection. But we don't want to give away all our secrets, especially if the scammers are watching. We will, of course, continue to keep our clients and intermediaries up to date on the latest developments that arise with regards to this legislation via our 2-pot newsletter. We will also continue to consider how best to explain this very difficult legislation to our members. On 27 July, we held an Imalizam online member webinar on the topic of optimizing your retirement savings and providing an overview of the 2-pot system. Over 1,900 members joined the webinar live, and we received a flurry of questions about 2-pot. It's clear that our members also seek clarity on what to expect from March next year. Please look out for our newsletters and communication in the coming months, and feel free to contact us at the following email address should you have any questions or ideas you'd like to share with us. As we draw closer to the implementation of the 2-pot system, We will continue to align and adjust our systems and processes for the protection and benefit of our members.
And there you have it. Everything you need to know about the newly named two-pot system. Let's head over to Solly for our economic update.
A warm greeting to everyone joining the Sanlam Umbrella Fund Symposium. I am Solitsi, Head of Investment Strategy within the Sanlam Corporate Investments. Thanks for making time to participate in the symposium. I will be providing you with insights on macroeconomic matters affecting investment market returns. As we know, the returns earned by members of retirement funds are affected by what is happening in the economy and investment markets. More recently, significant drivers of investment market returns have been inflation, economic growth expectations, including anticipated economic slowdown, reopening of China following their zero-COVID policy, and central banks' action, notably level of interest rates. Let's now look at each factor. Let's start with global inflation and interest rates. After a long time of keeping interest rates very low as part of the loose central bank's monetary policy, inflation started to rise a lot in 2021. Major central banks tried to say this higher inflation would only be temporary, calling it transitory. However, by 2022, it became clear that inflation wasn't transitory and would stick around. Central banks around the world were forced to fight inflation by increasing interest rates. They acknowledged that raising interest rates may be at the expense of economic growth, but decided that inflation is the bigger enemy. In the US, inflation went up by more than 9% in 2022. The US Federal Reserve Bank, along with other major central banks, raised the interest rates from being very low to being pretty high to control the inflation. In 2022, when central banks decided to tighten monetary policy by making less money available in the system, it caused problems for investment markets. That's why we saw low and negative investment market returns during that year. However, these actions by central banks worked. Inflation has gone down a lot since then, and in some countries, it is getting closer to targeted levels. Interest rates are now thought to be very close to the peak for this cycle. As inflation reduces, focus in investment markets is likely to turn to economic growth. Following economic decline in 2020 due to COVID-19 related lockdowns, economies recovered over 2021 and 2022. However, the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, has projected future economic growth to be lower over the medium term. Developing economies are expected to lead the way, with growth expected to be 4% in 2023 and 4.1% in 2024 in these countries. India and China are expected to be among largest contributors of growth within developing economies. Advanced economies are expected to lag, only growing by 1.5% in 2023 and 1.4% in 2024. The IMF downgrades on growth outlook reflect headwinds such as the rising cost of living and tighter monetary policy by central bankers to tame high inflation. As noted earlier, central bankers have been increasing interest rates at the fastest pace since the period leading to the global financial crisis in 2008. The expected general economic slowdown has been one of the most anticipated in recent history. Looking at China, while the country's economic growth rebounded strongly as the economy reopened, there are challenges in its property sector. There are also signs of weakening consumer spending and industrial production. However, the country has capacity to utilize fiscal and monetary stimulus. This means that the government can provide support and the country's central bank can make more money available in the economy. There were other events that contributed to the volatility we have seen in investment markets during 2023 so far. The month of March was marked by discomfort within the global banking sector, with Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and Credit Suisse being some of the notable banks to have failed. There has been measures taken to guarantee depositors' assets in failed banks, and the crisis has thus far seemed to have been contained. In June, the US had a problem deciding how much debt it should have. The disagreement on the US debt ceiling caused volatility in investment markets, but an agreement has since been reached. As a result, Fitch has become the second of the three major credit rating agencies to have downgraded the US from the highest credit rating of AAA to a bit lower rating of AA+. Another agency to have downgraded the US is the S&P in 2011. Let's turn to South Africa. So what's been happening here at home? After being outside the South African Reserve Bank's target range, which is 3 to 6%, inflation is now back within the range since June this year. The July inflation number was lower than expected at 4.7%, the lowest reading in 2 years. The current level of interest rate is high. The repo rate has increased from a low of 3.5% to 8.25%. Taking the difference between the current level of interest rate and inflation suggests a real interest rate of over 3%, which is high compared to history. This may be restrictive for growth. This may also suggest that interest rates are close to their peak for the current cycle. Let's have a look at South Africa's GDP growth. As a developing country, South Africa is lagging its peers. The domestic economy grew by 4.9% in 2021 and 2% in 2022, while the developing economies grew by 6.8% for 2021 and 4% for 2022. South African economy is now expected to only grow by 0.3% in 2023 and 1.7% in 2024. Energy crisis, depleting infrastructure, lack of implementation of structural reforms needed, and many other issues we need to solve are standing in the way of a much-needed higher economic growth in South Africa. The South African Reserve Bank has estimated that load shedding detracts from South Africa's GDP growth by about 0.7 to 3.2 percentage points, depending on the stages of load shedding we find ourselves in. During the February 2023 budget speech, the Minister of Finance announced that government will take over 254 billion rands of Eskom debt onto its balance sheet. Government total debt will increase. However, this will ease pressure on Eskom's balance sheet to enable the power utility to invest in transmission and distribution infrastructure. Eskom will also be able to conduct maintenance required to improve the availability of electricity. Another significant event this year was the Financial Action Task Force inclusion of South Africa in its grey list of countries in February. This list consists of countries with weak measures to combat money laundering and terrorist financing, but these countries are actively addressing these weaknesses. While the relevant South Africa's authorities are hard at work in addressing the issues raised by the Financial Action Task Force, it is not yet clear when the country will be out of the grey list. So how have the global and domestic investment markets reacted to these developments? Let's have a look at investment market returns for periods ended 31 July 2023. There has been strong investment performance across major asset classes over the past 12 months. Growth asset classes, such as equities, have performed very well. Members' portfolios have benefited from these strong returns over this period. The investment market performance over 3 years are also strong. Over 5 and 10-year periods, global equities have been a winner. The rand has weakened due to global sentiment on emerging markets and South Africa's own specific issues. This strong investment performance did not come in a straight line, but was characterized by volatility due to developments discussed earlier. As mentioned earlier, it is likely that investors' attention is now moving from inflation and interest rate expectations and shifting towards economic growth expectations. As always, it's important that members invest in diversified portfolios. Members should be invested according to their needs and risk appetite. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Solly. I'm happy to hear that it is not all doom and gloom from an economic perspective. And last but not least, let's chat to David, who had the fantastic opportunity of connecting with the new board members at the training session a short while ago. We've had such a significant change of the guard, and David's got the inside scoop.
Thanks, Shamika. I was thinking, since we launched the Sanlam Umbrella Fund in 2008, there's never been a year like 2023 when we've had as many changes to the trustees and the fund officials. I mean, we've had Jolene appointed as a new principal officer. We've had Shamika appointed as the new head of the fund secretariat. You're hearing from both of them today. But we've also got a few new trustees. We've got from the independent trustee elected, we've got Grant and Karen coming in as new trustees. And then Yvette was appointed a new sponsor-appointed trustee earlier this year. So I thought perhaps it would be nice for you to hear from the new trustees. I took the opportunity when we had trustee training during August for the new trustees to kind of catch up with them and ask them a few questions. I actually added Jolly into the mix as well because she decided to attend the trustee training day as a refresher. So I decided I'll ask them each 2 questions, relevant questions, not too heavy, but things that I thought the audience would like to hear from those trustees. And actually for each of them, I added one kind of personal question so you can kind of judge or gauge them from the human side. Bit of an experiment. I don't know if it'll work. Let's have a look. Hi, Grant. As one of the newly elected independent trustees, maybe start by telling us a little bit about Grant and what you're planning to do to contribute to the Sanlam Umbrella Fund over the next year or so.
Thanks, David. So yes, I'm Grant Bass. I'm an actuary and benefit consultant by trade. So that's what I do, normally advising retirement fund boards on the various matters. So now I'll be the one taking advice from other professionals. So what I'm looking forward to working on the fund is essentially this is a fast-changing industry with a lot of changes coming up with the regulations and even AI. And it's looking at how to do that with obviously member and coming up with customized solution for the various membership.
But maybe to continue on that theme, I mean, you'll be responsible as a trustee for the retirement savings of hundreds of thousands of members. Maybe, do you think there are 1 or 2 things that worry you? What are you concerned of, let's say, over the next year as a big risk?
So, I mean, whenever you give advice, you always want to be the one to sometimes push a decision and trying to get the trustees to make that decision. So now being on the other side, I might realize making that decision is a bit more responsibility than I sometimes envision when I'm giving the advice. But on a serious note, I suppose one of the things which does worry me and one of the challenges I find is around the diversity of the fund. It's just the fund is very large and its membership represents the whole of South Africa, which is an amazing thing. But in that, each member is different, and the bigger diversity, the bigger factors you've got to allow for in each of your decision. So that's what's one of my concern is any decision we make, finding that balance between a customized member and something that's fit for everyone.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on it. Actually, that's one of the things I found, and one of the things I struggle with as well. But okay, maybe let's just take the conversation a little bit away from work. Sometimes I guess you must be away from the office. You must do things like, that you enjoy outside of work. What are those things?
Yeah. So most of my time at the moment, I like to do a variety of things, and Cape Town has a variety of things to offer. So what I tend to, outside of family and friend time, things I enjoy and currently taking up most of my time is I enjoy playing paddle. I've hopped onto that craze. And then I also have a classic car I've bought and picked up.
Sure.
So it's a little mini pickup, which is quite exciting. And then finally, most surprisingly, I'm currently doing kickboxing. And I'm going for my first grading at the end of this month, so that's quite exciting.
Sure. So now I'm wondering and worrying what am I getting myself into for the next 3 years. But thank you very much, Grant.
Thanks, David.
Well, welcome, Jolly. I would have to say, actually, of all the trustees of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, you are involved in the most industry committees, organizations, etc. I mean, sometimes I even surprise myself, like going to one of these big industry conferences at one of the RCC conference centers. There's Jolly chairing the whole conference. So I was kind of just wondering, I mean, is there something over there that from that industry involvement that helps you in your role at the Sanlam Umbrella Fund? And yeah, if you had to name one thing, what would that be?
I think, David, it's important for all trustees to remain involved in the industry in which we participate, and that is my primary reason for being involved as much as possible. I want to take best practice from the industry and bring it in to whichever fund I'm working with or working for, to ensure that our members are getting the best of me under all possible scenarios. So I like to keep abreast, I like to keep involved. I also like to shape thought in the industry, and I think that's one of the main reasons I'm actually here at Sanlam. Is I do want to be with the people who shape industry thought, or who I believe to be strong contenders to shape the retirement fund industry of the future.
Well, what I can say that you've definitely impressed the people at Sanlam, because I mean, you've been an independent elected trustee for years, 8 or 9 years already, involved in a lot of the committees. I mean, in fairness, you probably know the fund better than almost all the trustees. And I guess the question I wanted to ask is there something that makes you worry, keeps you awake at night? You know, what's the big worry over the next year for the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, in your opinion?
I think I'm more worried about the environment in which we operate than the fund itself. So two-pot keeps me awake at night, or two components as it's now called. And it's not just from our perspective, but we've been growing as a fund. I sign a lot of the Section 14s into the fund, and I worry about what we're getting into the fund. That's the first side of things. But also from a member perspective, a lot of members are still confused about what two-pot is, how they access their money, when they can access their money, and how much money they can access. And I'm worried that perhaps as an industry, we have not properly engaged with members around the communication which will allow them to make appropriate financial decisions. So based on that, the aftermath that we might actually experience.
Yeah, Jolly, I mean, I think you've hit the nail on there. Those are things we actually need to get on top of, but I think we are on top of them. I mean, obviously, we have to be vigilant, and things are rapidly changing. But maybe let's change the subject away from work to something more personal. I know you're also involved, never mind all the retirement industry organizations, you're involved with the Mothers to Mothers organization. In fact, kind of you chair that organization. Maybe tell the audience a little bit about the great work you're doing there.
I'm involved at an organization, as you said, called Mothers to Mothers, and really it was started out of a need to address the last major pandemic that we had before COVID, which was HIV and AIDS. And you find that with a lot of mothers, and they are the cornerstone of family, and I believe that a nation is built or as strong as the families that it has. So it really married a couple of passions that I have around nation building, health, women's health in particular. And what we hope to do is to eradicate pediatric HIV and AIDS.
Sure.
Which is quite a big, it's quite a tall order.
It's a lofty goal, yeah.
It's a lofty goal, but I would say we've done significantly well. Dare I say better than any other organization on this planet to achieve that goal. And I think by achieving that goal, we've got a stronger population, and we've got people who actually reach retirement age.
Sure. Jolly, I mean, I've got to say, you're not only a great trustee of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, but you're a great South African, and it's such a pleasure working with you over the last decade or so.
Thank you, David. Likewise.
Hi, Karen. So, when you interviewed originally to be one of the candidates for election, actually, what struck me when looking at your CV was like the very varied career you'd led. You were in the paint industry, you were in the brewing industry. Next moment, you're in the retirement industry. Maybe what attracted you to that industry, and maybe what do you like about it?
I think initially my career started in financial management, and the company that I was at which is a retail company at that point, I was asked to join the Provident Fund. That was my first introduction to the retirement fund industry, and I really enjoyed the exposure to all sorts of new concepts like investments that I hadn't really spent a lot of time considering, and I really enjoyed the experience. And I felt that it's something that I would enjoy. And then when the opportunity came along to actually work for again, it was a retailer, but in the retirement fund space, I jumped at the opportunity, and I've really enjoyed the experience. And I think the thing that I like the most about the industry is that it's constantly changing, lots of new challenges. And I just, I enjoy the space. One has to apply one's mind. Growing up where I did, there wasn't a focus on that, and you find a lot of people my parents' age are not looking after their retirement funds. So it's something that is a bit of a personal challenge for me as well.
That's very interesting. Actually, when you say retailer, maybe you're underestimating what you do. I should tell the audience, when you are, and I think close to 20 years, you've been principal officer of the Fortune Group's retirement fund. But in addition, along the way, I believe they made you principal officer of the medical scheme as well. So I was just kind of wondering, medical schemes, retirement funds, that's two different industries. Principal officer role, is it very different between those? What's the biggest similarity or maybe the biggest differences?
There's two, I would say that there are two sort of major similarities. There's lots of similarities, but the two that strikes me the most is the governance aspect of both roles. And then the other thing is the fiduciary duty that one has to have towards your members. I think that's very important, because at the heart of what you do, whether it's retirement fund or medical aid, you always need to keep in mind who is your member, whose money are you looking after. And I think that's the similarity. I think the differences are sort of in the day-to-day, in the sense that with retirement fund, it's long-term thinking. You're planning ahead. You're looking at the end goal. And in the case of the medical scheme, you're looking at people's day-to-day needs in terms of their health and well-being. So I think that's where the crucial sort of differences, in my view, comes along.
Okay. I think those are skills that are going to serve you well as a trustee of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund. But maybe let me change to something personal. And what I noticed also in your CV, if I remember correctly, is that you're a bit of a golf lover. And I can assure you, you're a lot better than me. But maybe let's just share with the audience, what's your golf handicap?
So I would probably consider myself a fair weather golfer. So unfortunately at this point, having not played enough lately, I don't have a golf handicap. But I do really enjoy the sport. I think being out on the golf course, especially on a crisp morning, really just is the best stress reliever you can find, just walking a golf course. So I need to take you up on an offer of golf at some point and get back into it.
Okay, I'll try at some point. Vet, welcome. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, just so our stakeholders get to know you a little bit better. I mean, you were appointed a trustee by Sanlam February this year, so you've had a little bit of time to see the inside workings of the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, the board meetings, the committee meetings. I mean, I know you've got lots of experience also as a benefit consultant to multiple clients. I was kind of wondering, is there one thing about the Sanlam Umbrella Fund, now that you've seen it from the inside, that surprised you?
There wasn't too many surprises, given that I've got to know the Sanlam Umbrella Fund over the years. But when I attended the first investment committee meeting in February after I was appointed, I must admit I was very impressed with the level of due diligence that's performed on participating employers who participate in the fund or wish to join the fund but want to retain their own investment strategy. And I mean, that must be something really tough to deal with. And I think there's a very considered approach, a robust engagement on that. And for me as a trustee, that gives me a lot of reassurance. And I think it certainly bodes well for the participating employer as well. And probing further, I also realized that there's a 6-monthly review on all such investment exceptions, which I think is really great.
Yvette, what I can tell you, that's a very good answer because I'm the chairman of the investment committee. So, yeah, thank you. But actually, the committee you chair, or you've been appointed to chair this year, is the newly established Transformation Committee. So, I mean, it's a new committee. I mean, obviously, you've got together with your other committee members, you've set goals, etc. What are you hoping to achieve over the next year or so with that committee?
So, David, before I answer that, I must just mention that the board and the committee, obviously, is very committed to transformation principles, which form the basis of economic inclusivity for South Africans. I think that's why the committee was really established, to show how serious the fund does take transformation, and so we're there to lead the journey of transformation. I think over the next while, we will be focusing our attention on drafting a transformation policy and strategy for the fund, particularly to look at the service providers and the status that's required of the service providers to contribute towards the Black economic empowerment objectives of the fund. We also want to look at the membership inclusivity and look at areas which can be improved upon. So we'll start off by doing an analysis of the member education initiatives and, look at how inclusive they really are.
Yeah. That one's actually an important one. I mean, especially a country with 11 or even now today 12 official languages. It's quite a challenge and actually quite important. But maybe, what I've been trying to do with all the trustees, and you're the final one I'm speaking to, is like dig a little bit into the personal interests, and I've asked each one a personal interest query, and I was trying to think, what would Yvette be interested in? And I suspect maybe music. So, I mean, maybe I can ask, do you have a favorite musical genre, or maybe an artist, or maybe a song?
Somebody must have told you, because I love music. And I actually enjoy most music, from classical right through to rock. Love jazz, but the blues. My favorite artist, a guitarist, the late Gary Moore. Absolutely love him to bits. And my favorite song is Parisian Walkways.
Actually, I remember that from my teenage years. I'll have to listen again. I don't think I've heard it for a few decades, but I'm not going to hum it for the audience. Thank you very much, Yvette.
Pleasure. Nice chatting to you.
Okay, I must say, that was a bit more relaxed than the more formal presentations I'm used to giving at these annual Sanlam Umbrella Fund Symposium. I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if all the trustees did, but I think they spoke off the cuff and gave some genuine answers, and hopefully it helps our clients just learn a little bit about the human side of the people who are making the decisions. So let's leave it there, and back to the studio, Shamiha.
David, you never let us down. What a great way to get to know the trustees a bit better. I'm particularly interested in seeing these new trustees in action. I think we can expect good things. And on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for joining us today. We hope our Sanlam Umbrella Fund Symposium shed some light on the positive impact we are creating for South Africans and their retirement futures. CPD certificates will be emailed directly to you. Look out for the thank you email, which will contain the link to the trustee report and the recording of the symposium. Please complete the short survey, which you will find in the email. We would appreciate your feedback. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
As South Africa navigates the challenging economic landscape, it is critical we bring back confidence to the retirement funding space as well. The Sanlam Umbrella Fund is doing just this by encouraging change and innovation to the benefit of clients and members alike. Thank you for joining us today. See you in 2024.